So good morning everybody, welcome back once again to another film. So this morning I've come back to my local woodland and I realised that as this film goes out we can now travel once again, but the type of things that I wanted to photograph today are only going to be the same here as they are 50 miles up the road, so I didn't see much point in having that additional drive just to do the same things. I have to say it's freezing out here this morning. It's almost gone back to midwinter and I'm fully kitted out with full winter gear once again. We had a brief warm spell which was lovely a couple of weeks ago, but as is often the case we have that shock to the system where we plunge back into cold weather once again. So this morning it's that typical wander that I love to do out in the woods, just looking for anything that catches my eye. I've done it so many times on this channel and it's always lovely to see the results, the fruits of the labour, and it's just again looking for those textures, tones, shapes, colours, just literally things that just catch your eye as you're walking past. And what I am going to be doing today a little bit of is getting the camera out and just looking through the viewfinder, trying to find things that aren't that obvious to the eye, that often really only reveal themselves once you're looking through the camera, looking through the lens. So let's get on with the morning and see what we can find. So just walked down the little path and I was drawn by the water as we often are, and I spent many a while just looking into the water, almost mesmerised by it, looking at the different shapes and the way that as the water runs over the rocks, as it turns and it catches the light, and I was looking for something to photograph within this small area. There's lots of textures on the rocks and there's a fine layer of algae growing. It's got this lovely brown coloration, and that was creating this sort of interplay with the light, like I say, with the water and the reflected light. But whilst I was stood looking at that, the copper leaching out of the rocks, I have to say geology isn't my thing particularly. I think it's copper, some sort of sulfates. Please let me know in the comments below what you think, if I'm wrong. But where this is happening on this rock in front of me here, there's a beech leaf, and I realise I do leaf shots quite a lot, but each one's very, very different, and this one certainly is no exception. So the leaf has been caught or landed and it's stuck to the wet surface, and it's right in the middle of the copper part of the image. What I liked about it was actually the reflections of the leaf, the way the light's catching the surface. Ordinarily I would have probably put a polarizer on and got rid of that, but the leaf is really just a dark brown leaf, and cutting through the reflection really wouldn't have helped matters. So I've left that reflected light, but what I have tried to do is something really different. It's not the sort of thing I do at all. Is just to change the colour temperature on the image. So I've actually dialed a white balance in that's for tungsten light, which has given a really strong blue coloration. This is a very artistic impression of what I'm actually seeing. So all the reflective surfaces have turned blue, but yet the copper colours, the copper tones, to a large extent have been retained. I've set the leaf off to the right hand side, and I'm just using that as the main compositional element and the diagonal that leaf is creating. So as a starter, for something a little bit different, I'll put that on now. Hopefully you can see me in the back of all this tangled mess of branches, but just here, it's difficult to point to, just directly here you'll see a circular dark area in the tree. This is the nest of a blackbird, and in that nest are 4 hungry mouths, just beautiful little warm chicks waiting to be fed. I'm not going to hang around. I'm going to let Mr. and Mrs. Blackbird come back quickly and carry on doing their thing. Can you hear that? Very fast trill. Wait for it again. It'll come. That. For those of you that are interested in bird song, that again, you can hear, is a little nuthatch. Nuthatches nest in little holes in trees, and that previous video I'll put a link above where I found a nuthatch nest, and they find holes in trees. Generally they're old woodpecker holes, and they repurpose them, and they seal the hole up with mud with the beaks and reduce the hole size to a point where it's just right for them. And then they lay their eggs and raise the young in those little cavities. Still hear it. Sometimes I think it sounds like when you throw a stone across a lake and the stone bounces, and when it gets to the end of its bounce and it's got that very, very quick sound of the ice and the stone hitting together. That's what it reminds me of often, the nuthatch. Really, really going for it over there. Lovely. Birds are definitely a feature of my day to day. Of course, this is the time of year when the song is really getting going. So what else can we hear? So that is a song thrush. Very repetitive in the song. I generally vary it a little bit, but each little bit is repeated. You see there again, that's the song thrush. That was the wren, accompanied by the song thrush. And over to my right hand side, very, very faint little blue tits foraging. And a robin. 4 birds. Sounds like more. They'll soon be joined by lots and lots of migrants from the south, and then the woodland really will come alive. So I've come to a little area here. You can see off to the right hand side, my left, an old stone wall, and just over to the left hand side over there, there's what looks like the remains of an old building. There's more of it just to the back of that camera, and this little area is a bit of a sun trap, and there's a lot more variety of plants here. Again, not much in the way of flowering parts, but certainly a lot more variety, different shapes and tones and colours that I talked about first thing this morning. So I'm going to take the bag off now, get the macro lens on, and just walk around and do some handheld stuff and see if I can find anything just by moving the lens in and out of various subjects. And that way I tend to find stuff that I would otherwise not see by just walking around. The woodland itself is just awash with bluebell growth coming up, but there's no flowering parts just yet. Much later on in spring for that. So I think this is probably going to provide me with some opportunities. So I'm going to spend about half an hour here just looking around with the lens, like I say, just moving in and out on various subjects. just to see what transpires. So this certainly hasn't been an easy setup, that's for sure. So I'm very, very low down on the woodland floor, and this whole area in front of me is carpeted with opposite leaved golden saxifrage. So I've got the 100mm macro on, I've got the case polarizer on, and I've got a 32mm extension tube, and I'm really close. I'm actually just focusing on this plant here, just in front, this individual stem, probably about 5 inches from the front element. I'm shooting quite a shallow depth of field. I've tried various apertures. I quite like the really shallow depth of field. f4 is my preferred one, looking through the back of the camera, but I'm mindful that there's only very, very tiny parts of the flower that are sharp, and I do want more of it. Now I have to say, this is the first time that I've wished I had a more modern camera, because to be able to just tap the back of the screen and refocus, or use automatic focus stacking, would have been really handy right now. I can't afford, because there's such a large amount of movement on the camera every time I touch the lens, so I've just got to try and get it in one go. So I've taken it at f4, f8, f11, f16. I can't stack them together because I'm pretty sure they'll have moved, so ideally I would have stacked them to the point where I could just get the right parts of the flower in sharp focus, but on this occasion I've got to be really careful about my background and choose f16 and hopefully not have any distractions in the back. Now the ghost that's off to my left hand side is actually a muslin cloth. I think I've shown it on one other video previously, and it's just over my tripod, and the reason for that is, for those of you that haven't already sussed it, is the sunlight's coming through quite strong and it's causing a lot of highlights and shadows, and I don't want those. I want this lovely, lovely greeny yellow colour to the whole image. Golden leaf saxifrage has got quite green leaves but very, very delicate little yellow flowers, and I don't want contrast on that, so I'm using the cloth to soften the light through, and the polarizer is just taking the bit of reflected light off the leaves. They're quite waxy, so any reflected light I'm trying to just completely eliminate. So it's all ready to go. I will take another one now. This one's at f16. It looks really beautiful through the back of the camera. So here it goes, 2-second timer, 100 ISO, and I'll put that on now. Decided to have a minute. It's surprising just how quickly, even in mid-April, how the light can become really quite harsh. 10 to 10. Been out for a couple of hours now, and I'd say the light's probably about 50 degrees angle, but so many hot spots on the woodland floor. Got 2 shots, had a lovely walk, really enjoyed that. I still think there might be one more shot in the day. I think with the woodland type images, the macro stuff, I do like to try and get more than just the one shot. It's nice to get a sequence, but I think there's lots of opportunities for different levels of photographer. If you're just starting out, really just get the 100mm macro out, or any lens for that matter, and just poke it around and just shoot away. I always try, for me, to get something a little bit special, and generally speaking what happens is you'll start off with something reasonably mediocre, and then as the morning progresses your eye develops and you start to see more. But the problem with this time of year now is that by the time you're starting to get your eye in, the light's becoming problematic. Ideally today what I would have liked is some really soft overcast light, but I've got a complete cloud-free sky above me, and that's causing some problems now. So I'm going to have 10 minutes out and just have a rest. Enjoy the bird song while it's still going. I can hear a chaffinch just behind the camera there, and have a drink and get back to it. You can just hear the chaffinch. There's one or two knocking about. It's because we've entered this area of plantation coniferous woodland. Certainly in this particular wood, they seem to like that habitat. But it's nice with the sun on the face, that's for sure. So I'll see you in a minute. So we're back in action again. I've set the shot up because it was a bit of a faff, to be honest. As I said earlier on, the sunlight has got pretty harsh now, and I'm having to use the ghost, as I'm calling it today, for pretty much every shot that I take, or that I try to take, just to see what the light's like. But it certainly works really well as a diffuser. I'm going to be quick because the light is moving around all the time, and I don't want to miss this shot. So I'm actually photographing this here, this flower. This is a wood anemone, beautiful woodland flower, and I think another ancient woodland indicator. So I'm currently on f4, and I'm going to get down really low for this. The idea is that there's two flowers, one there and one there at the back, and I'm going to use those two flowers positioned on either side of the main flower. These two back ones are going to be out of focus, but you are going to be able to tell what they are, and they just help to frame the image. The sunlight coming through on the background has helped to create a lovely, nice, soft, out of focus light background, and I'm just including the base of the flower, just the leaves, just to hold the bottom part together. Now for this I need to get really low and shoot up. Like I say, it's f4. I'm on just let me just check. The shutter speed is around about 800th of a second. I've really racked the ISO up to 800 because these things just, every so often, they blow in the breeze, and coupled with the fact that I'm hand holding, just needs that bit of extra security to make sure I get it sharp. I'm focusing on the little tiny yellow stamens in the middle of the flower and letting all the rest just go out a nice soft focus. So a very, very arty shot, as we like to call it. A very, very effective and simple, clean image. So I shall take that now, really down low, like I say, position the flower just in that centre spot. That's really nice. Beautiful. I'll put that on now. Well, I hoped you liked that last shot. It certainly was the one of the day, I think, for me. Like I said earlier on today, creativity normally improves as the session wears on. I think it just takes you sometimes that little bit a bit of time to get your eye in every time you go out. You sort of go out a little bit rusty, and then you start to get into the flow a little bit more as the day progresses. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of today's images and also the video today. If you're not already subscribed, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for those notifications. If you have liked the video, give it a thumbs up, it's always welcome. And as I've been saying recently, there's now a join button, and for that you get a number of perks, plus you also get early bird viewings of all the videos. So I'm going to leave it there and say thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.